Alright, so this tutorial is going to go through the setting up for your guys' planar drawings here. So you guys have obviously gotten this to a point where you guys have started to model this. I'm just going to go ahead and steal Alex's since she sent me her stuff for 3D printing. And so what we're going to be looking at is I'm going to go into an elevation view, and I can go into a plan view for this. And I'm going to go ahead and set this up so that we can actually get these guys out. And I'm going to do this all at once to make this sort of easier on us. So I take this, I'm going to go ahead and first I need to set up an elevation. And I'm just going to copy this away, and you'll see why here in a second. And I'm going to take this, and since the drawing requirements dictate it's going to be a plan and an elevation, I can go ahead and rotate this up. And I can go ahead and get these all together at the same time. And there's going to be a reason for this here, and I'll show you here in a second. But what I can do, since there's two copies of this, I can use the make 2D command, and I can go ahead and just make this 2D. What that's going to do, as I'm thinking about this, I go into my plant view now. This is going to take and render out all of the lines in here, and it's going to divide this up into hidden layers as well. So I can see the guts of this if I really want. So if Alex wanted to take a section through this, she could generate the hidden line drawings for this and actually start to poche and fill this in. I don't really care about that, so I'm going to go ahead and just turn that off. And you can see we now have really nice elevation, clean and crisp, with some exceptions here. Looks like I had some curve left over. And go ahead and delete that out. From there, though, I can go ahead and see. Sorry, I don't have as much real estate on this screen. I can go ahead and just take this over, and if I pull this down, you can see that I have some things that have been lined up and aligned in here. Now, from there, what I can do is, if I'm clever, I can start to draw a couple of things, and I'll show you. I'm just going to draw a couple of reference lines that I can then use. I'm going to turn them into dash lines. Excuse me. Dash lines as we go through this. Alright, and then we're going to do the same down here. Shift and drag that over. Move from intercept, and I'll turn on my tangent snap for a second here. And I'll move it to the tangent there so we can get the object height. Alright, so from here, we can go ahead and we can dimension things. Oops, I actually used my object snaps. We can find out the 17 and 13/16. If we go and say from this endpoint, excuse me, we can figure out those dimensions. And then we can also use that to start to extend over and down some of these reference lines. So we can actually start to dimension out our drawing. Alright. So we can do this, and we can set this up for ourselves here, but this kind of looks like crap if we start to look at this. And so what we may end up deciding that we want to do is we want to take this drawing into Illustrator, really give it some nice line weights. And so I'm going to go ahead and just take this and export. And I'm going to go as an Adobe Illustrator file, and we'll call this Alex Elevations. We're going to hit save. Now it's going to ask us if we want to preserve the model scale, and we do. 1 inch equals 1 inch, so that means that we can actually, and it's only going to ask us that when we're in orthographic projection views, like top or right or side. It does not give that option in perspective for obvious reasons. So since we know we want to set this up, the drawing requirements are set to go 1 inch equals 2 inches, or we want a half scale. So, alright, so then we're going to go ahead and hit Control O, and we're just going to go and find that file, wherever I exported that to, and it's on my desktop. So I scroll down here, Alex Elevations. I'm going to zoom out, and I now have this really nice, oops, Control A, and I'll just grab that and move it into here. We can start to set this up really, really nicely. Alright, so then we can start to get in here and really start to play with the line weights. And like say I want this to be a dashed line. I'm going to make that like a 20-point gap. Get this stuff to align. Just grabbing these anchors and then I can move them. Oop. Use the direct select tool. I can change my mind. Just use the basic selection tool, and once you have that going, you should be able to align these things. And obviously you can do this ahead of time. Okay. You can come down here, pull this down. Pull it up. Dash line, let's drop the line weight on this so it's not so heavy. Turn that into a dash line. 125. So now I can really start to get into this. Then we can do some other things like thicken these guys up so we can get this really nice crisp drawing. We go maybe 6. So now we have a nice base for this guy. Then I'm going to just get this all to align so we can have this nice sort of crisp drawing set in here. Okay. And then if we come in here, we can also start to do things. Once we've got things set, if we hit Control 2, we can lock them so that they can not be edited. And if you need to unlock stuff, you can come in here. You can Control Alt 2, or you can just use the menu here to do that. Okay. And so from this, we can start to construct our elevations, and then we can start to draw. Like we hold Shift, we can draw our little tick marks. And our smart guides will snap onto that already. And we can come over here, and we can start to build those. So then if we want to come in here and actually type this, we can come in and set things like the font, and not that you couldn't do this in Rhino, but just so I can show you guys a couple of ways to do this. And let's find a good font in here. A, obviously that needs to be greater than 12-point font, so let's beef this up to like 36. And it's not the best font, but that was, say we want that to be something precise, so we can say that that's 17.5 inches. You can align that to make that much larger. Okay, so we can start to do that, set this up for ourselves. And this is complaining because we have more text on there. So we can start to build a really, really nice crisp drawing out of that really, really quickly. And then the other thing we can do is in here is if we come in and, since this was out of an elevation, say we can come in here and render this out. Here, sorry, my V-Ray is not loaded. So I'm going to do a crappy render here. So kind of a craptacular rendering. I'm going to remove the backdrop here. So you can set this to transparent backdrop. Hit OK. And then it's going to pull that up again. Let's hit render. We'll save this out. Desktop, and we got to save this as a PNG in order to maintain the transparency on that. Otherwise, it will appear black if you save it as a JPEG. So we'll call this Alex. We'll pop back in here, hit Control O, and we'll go and find that image. And there now I have this all rendered out. So hit Control X to cut it. And then I'm going to use my layers in here. Pull that up. I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to create a new layer. And I'm going to put that underneath our other guys. I'm going to lock these guys so I don't mess with them on accident. Hit Control V. And if I get Control Alt, I can scale this up from the center. And you can tell that I haven't rendered this out fantastically. Okay, so then we can just sort of position this in. And if I zoom out here, we're close, but not quite there yet. Oh, a little too big. There we go. We'll call that just right. So we can come in here, and then I'm going to drop the opacity down and make this really light, so we just get a really nice soft shading on there. So we can start to make this really conceptual really quickly. All right. And obviously I would recommend rendering at a higher resolution on this. I'm going to shift this up just a little bit. And then we can go ahead and export this out as an image. Okay. And so that's basically how you guys can set up your guys' drawing sets. All right. And that's it.